And President Donald Trump's so-called big, beautiful bill is turning into a big, beautiful headache on Capitol Hill. Republicans are divided. You got the fiscal conservatives say the legislation doesn't cut enough spending, while moderates say it cuts too much, including Medicaid, which could hurt working class Americans. Scripps News congressional correspondent Nate Reed is live on Capitol Hill. Nate, you've been following this all week. At this point, is there anyone who actually likes where this bill is at?
Yeah, there's certainly Republican members up here on Capitol Hill who are in favor of this bill. That's probably the missing middle here. There's a lot of Republicans, though, who are venting frustration. They're the fiscal hawks who are concerned that it doesn't cut enough from the budget, as you just noted. There's the moderate Republicans from blue states who are worried about the state and local tax deduction, who really don't feel that this raises the SALT cap meaningfully enough, up from the $10,000 figure that was imposed in 2017. And for that reason, they're loath to support it as well. Speaker Johnson just spoke with reporters a short time ago after meeting with some of these holdout factions in his office. He came out and pretty much painted a fairly rosy picture of where things stand. Take a listen.
We are still on path to pass this bill next week, to have it on the floor. That's always been the plan, and I don't see anything that would impede that right now. The bill is almost in final form. There's a lot of things on the table, a lot of ideas, a lot of possibilities that we have, and we will work through those things together deliberately, as we always do. As you all hear me say all the time, we're in a consensus building operation here, and we will do that through the weekend, and we are going to get to the point where we can get this bill on the floor, and it will be something everybody's happy about.
And, the holdout's expected to meet through the weekend. Some of the concern from the fiscal conservatives is the way that some of the cuts in this bill are written, the spending cuts are written. Additional work requirements for Medicaid, something that you and I have talked a lot about, Andrew. Take a look at this post on X from Scott Perry, a member of the ultra-conservative House Freedom Caucus. He's annoyed that some of these spending cuts, rather these work requirements for Medicaid, don't take effect until 2029 in the way that this bill is written. That is after President Trump will have left the Oval Office. So again, a lot of questions about whether it's, smart from at least some of these conservative Republicans to agree to something that really does not move the needle for several years. Again, conservatives venting frustration that the cuts are not steep enough. Moderates concerned that, again, the cuts are too steep and they're not doing enough to raise that SALT cap, the state and local tax deduction, which they frequently say is the reason that Republicans have a majority right now in Congress, because of those blue state swing district Republicans who obviously, helping Republicans with their extremely slim majority.
And, Nate, we just heard the speaker say that he's willing to work through the weekend here to get something done. It was that Memorial Day deadline was originally a few weeks ago, the deadline that was set. That is looking less and less likely as I check the calendar. But what are you picking up on in terms of the conditions on Capitol Hill and the appetite that members have to actually make a deal to get this done for the president?
People are fairly dug in, Andrew. I mean, if you talk to, for one example, the SALT caucus, they feel that they've got a pretty good negotiating position. These are, again, blue state Republicans who want to raise that state and local tax deduction cap. It's been capped at $10,000 since 2017, part of that original Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. If they don't take any action up here on Capitol Hill, if they never pass a tax bill, that SALT cap will go away on its own when those tax cuts expire at the end of 2025. And for that reason, Republicans who are negotiating in that position feel like they've got a fairly strong argument up here. Here's Congressman Nick LaLota, the Republican from Long Island, New York.
The bill expires at the end of the year. SALT goes back to unlimited. Time is my friend. We can go as long as this as we need to. For 100 years before 2017, there was no cap on SALT. It was unlimited. In 2017, offensive to blue states, folks in this town from my party put a cap on SALT, but there was never a cap before. Now, here we are 8 years later. You need blue state Republicans to vote for the darn bill. We're not voting for a cap that we can't sell back on. That's the reality everybody needs to understand in this.
When you say things like that's the reality everyone needs to understand in this, it's pretty clear that he's not moving anywhere anytime soon. Again, just one of the many factors within the Republican conference who is standing in the way of reaching a deal, of being able to actually take a vote on this. Andrew, as we reported yesterday, there's far more than enough Republicans, several times the number of Republicans who need to oppose this legislation for it to fail, who are publicly saying on camera anywhere that they will not vote for the bill in its current form. That's a serious headache for Speaker Johnson, who now says he's going to meet with these Republicans through the weekend. We're outside of what's expected to be another meeting of House Republicans later today in one of the meeting rooms behind me in the Congressional Visitor Center. So to be clear, momentum still moving forward, not really clear where a deal could be reached, though.
Yeah, tough position for the Speaker if time is on the side of those Salt Caucus Republicans who he ultimately needs. Scripps News congressional correspondent Nate Reed live for us on Capitol Hill. Nate, thanks for the update.